It's Sunday, July 27th, 2014. I'm Jimmy Principe.
I'm Sydney Foster.
And I'm Trey Comstock. One of your final orders, because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 81. Your last call for Tech News of the Week. Tonight, Jimmy unlocks his phone to not go quietly into the night. Sydney shows that tablets will not give up without a fight. And I make sure you know that Microsoft and Russia are going to live on. But we start tonight with tablet extremism.
So, remember when tablets were the hot new thing? Yeah, no, we barely do either. It was a long, long time ago.
2010.
Yeah, feels like a long time
Many
ago.
moons ago.
So by now, tablets have pretty much become a familiar and a comfortable part of the tech landscape. But are they about to go the way of the dinosaur?
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, 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 drama! The tech press certainly seem to be pulling out the end times language lately. And then as far as the numbers, second quarter reporting by IDC indicates that the tablet market is up 11% year over year.
What?
Yeah, so
So
one
it's
might
dying,
ask,
yet it's not dying.
yes, one might ask, why are the press falling over themselves to predict the death of the tablet if the market is in fact growing? Well, you see, sales aren't showing as much growth as usual, so a whopping 1.5% less than what we're used to as far as growth in sales. But to kind of piece things out a little bit and look at just a chunk of the market, Apple reports that iPad sales are down 9.2% this quarter. Samsung's numbers are down as well. And IDC is attributing the fall in tablet sales partially to the increasing popularity of larger screen smartphones, and then also just less frequent device turnover among users, so people keeping their old tablets longer rather than updating as frequently. So is the tablet doomed?
Yes.
Or do we think this is just a lot of hype for nothing?
It's doomed. Just write it off as it had its day, like the PC
And the newspaper.
and the newspaper, and the print and the mechanical printing press,
And
before
paper
that,
books.
and paper books and
Ooh,
papyrus scrolls,
Records.
records, 8 tracks.
Those are actually dead.
So are papyrus scrolls. Okay. So it's not growing at the same rate, and iPads are down because people are keeping them. Also, no one needs a tablet.
Well, but here's the thing. People have iPad 2s that they're like, but this thing still works. I don't want, like...
Apple only recently stopped selling the iPad 2.
I mean, like, people have iPad 2s, and they're like, this thing works great. What do I need anything else for? I mean, yeah, maybe it's not as fast as a new one, but I don't really care. I use it for sitting on my couch and looking at Pinterest.
Right. And I think that's the kind of the BS part of the tablet argument by the tablet makers is that, oh no, you totally need this. Apparently Apple's stoned today. Oh no, you totally... Why do we always make pot jokes? I'm in now.
More green bubbles.
Man.
Oh no, you totally can use this to, like, make content. And everyone's actually like, oh no, I mostly sit at my couch and try not to look at porn on this thing. So, you just don't need a super powerful device to do that. And their argument to upgrade it is, oh, this one's so much better at, like, content creation. And everyone's like, oh, I actually don't do that.
on this device. I have another device that works great for that. But device.
Can I still play Angry Birds on this? Okay, then I don't need a new one.
Angry Birds, Pinterest, and interwebs work? Excellent. What else do we need?
I mean, the answer pretty much is, does the web still work? Yes. Okay, we're fine. There's nothing to see here.
No, that doesn't work. I mean, okay, but looking at what they're attributing this to, as far as the, like, larger screen smartphones, I bet that's eating into the 7-inch market. Notice that the 7-inch market doesn't really exist anymore. They're all 8-inch devices.
Right, and
as the bottom end has grown, so have the 7-inch tablets. So I really do think that this is just a the tablet market is adapting to, because all the people that it's not like anyone that makes a tablet at this point really is not making a smartphone too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
at least any of the major players.
even Kindle now. I mean, there's the Fire Phone.
Our name's
Yeah,
better.
Which is now $0 down, by the way. From
Great. Please tell me the reason to buy that device. What differentiates it in the market from another device?
It will make you breakfast. I don't know.
Right, exactly. It has 4 cameras and can do a weird parallax thing.
Woohoo!
Look, man.
Oh, the slow clap.
It makes Amazon shopping easier. I don't need Amazon.
Again with the web.
I
Look,
don't
Amazon
need.
shopping is already too easy.
I really don't need it to be any easier.
Like,
Oh, I can just yep. Now I have 64 mason jars. Why? Who knows?
Because you're planning a Pinterest wedding.
Apparently. No, I mean I think that
no, see, he found out about it on Pinterest on his iPad while he was reclining on his couch.
right while not making content on my
While
iPad.
not making content, which you would actually use a real computer for.
Jack,
Like,
I use a. Let's be fair. At this point in my life, I do use a tablet to make content. That tablet
Alright.
runs.
Tablet, very loosely defined.
I mean,
no, it is a tablet. I'm gonna
behold,
give.
this is a tablet. See?
All right, internet. I'd like everyone to witness the fact that Trey just tore the keyboard off of his laptop in order to make it look like a tablet. Yep, internet.
I
That just happened.
just ripped the keyboard off of my Surface Pro. This is a
No,
tablet.
no, Trey. It's a laptop. You
It
tore
is
the
also a
key-
laptop.
You just
I
tore
always
the
think it's
keyboard
really
off.
adorable when the Surface calls itself a PC. I'm like, aw, you're cute.
I make-
PC shutting down.
Yes,
I
the
make
PC
content.
shutting down, or your PC is updating. Please don't power off.
PC
Aw,
settings.
PC.
I mean, I make content with a tablet, but it's a Core i5 tablet that runs full Windows 8. That's a tablet.
It has the screen real estate of a real laptop.
and has the screen real estate of a real laptop.
Right.
And most of the time when I'm making non-written content with it, I have it hooked into some form of docking station with a Razer keyboard and a Logitech mouse. Because that's the only sane way to edit on that thing. I mean, it has the power to do it. But that's the kind of tablet that you can actually make content with. Okay? I've always said the iPad as a video editing device is an insane concept. Because
Yeah.
you have to pay $1,000 and all you get is 128 gig. I need 8 terabytes of storage for my video editing machines. Do not tell me that is a real professional editors. Don't make me pee myself with laughter, Apple.
Well, the sad thing is they're the ones that are making the actual stuff for the professional editors
Right, for now.
and have the gumption to say,
Well, they just got rid of
Yeah.
Aperture, so Final Cut may be next. But first they came for Aperture and no one said anything. Then they came for Logic and no one said anything. Finally, it was Final Cut and I cared and there was no one left to say anything.
Trey will be standing in front of Final Cut with an AK-47 in one hand and a shotgun in the other,
Right.
saying, "Come and take it."
Come and take it over my cold, dead
I
hands.
call her Vera.
I call her Vera. I can't switch to Adobe now. I've been hating on it for too many years. I would feel like a hypocrite. This is way off subject. This is what happens when we don't get to do T4 in any given week. So yeah,
Everyone's a critic.
I think I will find out if Apple does actually release its phablet this year, if the phablet pulls me away from the iPad mini. Because I still use the iPad mini some because it's just better for kind of the sit on the couch and read thing. I have a couch device now. It's really sad. Another thing I've been hating on for years. But I'd like to get a phablet, as ridiculous as that is going to appear in these small hands, if only to see if only to put this conclusion to the test, but I'm willing to bet they're right. Also, yeah, who needs to replace a tablet? Unless you break it. That's
Unless you're an idiot in
Right.
that you break it or you sell it to a Nigerian prince.
yep.
You're good.
I hear that happens sometimes.
Jimmy, you've done both of those things.
I have done both
You
of
threw a
those.
Nexus 7 off of a balcony and then sold an iPad 3 third gen to Nigerian prince.
Look, okay, I'm nothing if not efficient.
I murdered an iPad in my closet.
You gave it a silent death.
I really did. I locked an iPad in my closet and died. Okay, so speaking of really screwing things up, you want to know how to make a mountain out of a molehill? Claim that there will be only one Windows to rule them all on a Microsoft earnings call. This is exactly what Satya Nadella sort of did. See, exactly and sort of on Microsoft's earnings call Tuesday. He stated, and I quote, "We will streamline the next version of Windows from 3 operating systems into one single converged operating system for screens of all sizes." Of course, the blogosphere went nuts with this because, as he stated, it really does sound like there's going to be one OS covering everything.
Pretty much what he said.
That's pretty much what he said. However, to those who listened to the entire earnings call, Nadella systematically walked this thing back.
Because the man at the end of the day is an engineer and is not insane,
Right.
unlike Ballmer.
And because someone was standing at the back of the room going,
"What are you doing?"
making crazy gestures. And for
So-
those of you on the audio,
What he
Someone make
see-
sure he was Windows 9. Do we get this?
That's threshold. But what he's talking about is threshold. But what he actually means is, okay, there will continue to be one team that builds all the OSs, which has been in place for a year. They will continue working towards apps and a store that work across all the various platforms in the upcoming release, Windows 9, aka Threshold. But there will still be SKUs or units or separate operating system looking things based on each segment of the market. So there will be an OS for phone. There will be an OS for embedded. So like cash machines and
Other
smartwatches.
random.
And the
stuff that
Sega
runs on
Dreamcast. All different uses of Windows Embedded.
Trey's favorite example, the
The
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. What was Microsoft's first gaming system?
The
Dreamcast. Okay. There will still be a PC tablet, or tablet maybe with phone, depending if it runs an ARM chip or a Intel chip. There will be server and Xbox. They will all be continued to be built on NT Core, like they have been for a generation. So they will share family roots, but still vaguely be separate operating systems.
So they're all like siblings.
Right. So as Mary Jo Foley so eloquently put it in her ZDNet article, quote, "For now, nothing new to see here, folks." End quote. So why do you think people jumped all over this?
What?
it was the way he said it. I mean, first of all, soundbite got pulled out
I
by
was gonna
somebody,
say,
and
there's a
everybody else
soundbite.
jumped on the soundbite.
Yeah. Yeah.
People hear one Windows to rule them all, and they lose their effing mind.
Dog whistle for bloggers.
Like, one
We
Windows to
didn't-
rule them all? Oh, I have so many things I can say about that.
We didn't
None
care
of them
about
are
Microsoft,
Positive.
but we didn't care about Microsoft, and now we care.
And
Is this
who
what it
likes
takes?
to listen to earnings anyway? Who wants to spend their time listening to an entire earnings call? Way too much work and way too boring.
No.
Way easier to just
No,
read the
thank you.
soundbite off of somebody else's blog and then comment on it on your blog.
Or here's what I actually think happened: is people heard that, started writing, and then didn't listen to his
You
refresh.
should listen to the rest of the call. They're like, he didn't just say that. No way, he just said that. Oh my god, I need to go write this up.
I
Be the
need to
first
go
one out
write a
there to tell
blog
everyone
right
he
now.
said this.
This is the problem. So the short
Welcome
thing.
to the 24-hour news cycle, people.
So, it's worse. It's the tech news. So the long and the short of this is there will be better integration across all of the different Windows properties, which needs to happen. However,
Oh, and Trey, please tell me how that integration is going to happen.
well, so step 1, you steal the underpants. Step 2, step 3, you profit.
I was teeing that one off a little bit better for you. I'm sure the answer is Azure
Well, okay, yes.
and SkyDrive.
Well, OneDrive.
Had my
which-
drink ready to go.
No, actually,
Say it.
Azure is the thing powering the
there we
better integration across all the different Apple properties.
But also
This is
all the
less
integration
dramatic when
across
I'm
all the
drinking
other
water.
Microsoft properties as well. I'm sure that Microsoft Azure can figure out how to make their Azure product work the best with their Azure
Well, that's probably...
and Azure Marketplace.
Doesn't count when you say it.
Azure
Okay.
Sky.
So here's the thing. Azure is going to be the one
Quit to run out of
powering
water.
the integrated store, and it becomes the one integrated back end for all of the apps. But that still doesn't solve it can't be Azure that solves the problem of how all of these apps run on different processor architectures, which is the challenge, right? So you have three things: server, PC, Xbox, all running x86. And then you have two or three things, depending on how you count them: embedded, phone, and maybe tablet, all running on probably RT, but not RT, ARM or whatever. So you have 2 to 3 processor architectures in play across many scaled devices, and that's where it gets hard. That's where it gets hard when you want write once, run everywhere. Now, they've started releasing APIs for that, and it looks vaguely like a real thing. But don't underplay the challenge of that. I mean, Apple can write... Apple doesn't even have write once, run everywhere. Right? There's not Apple doesn't have an integrated app store. They have it integrated across tablet and phone, which admittedly Microsoft doesn't have. But they do not have an integrated app store across phone, tablet, and PC. No one has that.
No.
The closest you get is the Chrome App Store, and don't hold your breath trying to find anything in there.
Well, no, it's not. It's not integrated at all because the Chrome store, okay, in that you can access Chrome on your phone, but the Chrome stuff is all PC and then tablet and so I'd say between tablet and phone, I think that Google has actually done an excellent job. A better job than Apple in a lot of ways in figuring out how to tie all of that together and work with their third-party manufacturers, because Apple is not a good model for Microsoft to look to because they control everything. But with Google, no, I'm not saying that Apple's not doing a good job. There's a difference.
They're doing something remarkably easy, though. I'm sorry, if you own the operating system, if you make your own processors and put the same processors in both things, how hard is it to integrate that?
Right, exactly. So for Apple, it's really like they have legacy that they have to deal with, but other than that, they're fine.
But they only really have legacy on the PC because they cycle things out in the device space every 3
years.
Their
legacy is nothing compared to Microsoft.
Right, which didn't start new ever.
But I think Google is a good model for what can be done in the mobile space, in that there are certain things across all Google platforms, even if they're highly modified, that are basically there. The store, and then through the store, the ability to update each of the apps, each of the Google services apps individually.
But I mean, Microsoft's pretty good about having all of its services across all of its things, right?
True.
OneDrive integrates really well across all of these things. Trust me, I use it, right? But that's not the issue. What Microsoft doesn't have is a unified phone and tablet store. So they haven't even done the easiest part.
Well, what they're going to do, though, is they're just going to kill the tablet store.
Well, no, they're not quite. What they're going to do is they're going to make phone and what it sounds like they're going to do is they're going to make phone and tablet the same SKU of Windows.
Oh, no, that's what I mean. I think that what they'll do is they'll take Windows Phone and they'll expand it to larger screen sizes to cover the tablet. They'll change the name of it to neither Windows Phone nor Windows RT.
It'll just be Windows.
So we won't have any more Windows Phone 7 phones.
No, Windows Phone 8.1 phone.
So, God, you want to talk about clunky. Windows Phone 8.1 phone.
Phone.
Yeah, because what they've changed that syntax so it's Windows Phone 8 rather than Windows 7 phone. They figured out that this was awful.
Still awful.
So slightly less awful is what Congress is doing. For I know I don't say that often, but once
Congress is less awful.
Less
I know.
Awful.
Good news.
We saw Dacia Sandero.
It was the most exciting day of our lives. The Spanish thought we were insane.
Yeah, we actually took a picture in front of a Dacia Sandero. It was pretty bad.
I can actually post that with this
You should
this
do
podcast.
that.
Anyway.
Only Top Gear fans will get it, but we're
Good
really
news.
excited.
It's a picture of a
Regardless,
Dacia
good
Sandero
news.
in
Not
the
only
show
is it a
notes.
Dacia Sandero, but you can now unlock your phone without using one of the evil phone carriers, and it's like a protected act. So almost, we're almost there. Probably Obama will sign it like tomorrow.
I feel like this is one of those things that has swung back and forth so many times. It's good to every now and then get updated to see where we are on the spectrum of this.
So Friday, the House of Representatives passed Senate Bill 517, also known as the Unlocking Consumer Choice in Wireless Competition Act, or as I like to call it, the Ucka Wucka,
Better.
which effectively resets the list of protected acts that the Librarian of Congress has control over, from the existing language that was from October of 2012 to that of specifically July 27th, 2010. Don't ask me why July 27th. So
Oddly
what's
enough.
new? What's old is now new again, and all is right with the world, right?
Yep.
Well, for now at least. This very oddly, the act only affects the law for this current cycle of the Librarian of Congress's decision. At which point, in a year from now, because the decision was made 2 years ago, the Librarian of Congress will have the opportunity to change his mind again, his or her mind again. It only resets it for now, and although most likely they're not going to do that because popular opinion is that no, you have no business changing this in the near future, it doesn't change the fact that they will be able to change it in a more protracted future if they so desired. So do we feel that Congress is currently doing an excellent job of applying a Band-Aid when the greater issue is being ignored?
I'm almost entirely confused. Can I unlock my phone?
So after you do this, assuming that Obama signs that law this week, which he
Yep.
will, he said he will.
Okay. Can I unlock my phone?
Yes,
How?
magic. No, there's
Okay.
there are apps and things. You
So
can
I-
see-
First, you have to
Basically, you can
unify
plug-
all Windows operating systems.
let's start this over. So basically, what you have to do is you bypass the encryption on the phone in order to do it.
Which is why
However-
it comes under the DMCA in the first place.
Which
because
it
the
comes under the
DMCA
DMCA in the first
says
place.
you can't bypass encryption.
And
Okay.
the Librarian of Congress basically says in the I don't have the specific reference.
In this 3-year
but-
cycle, here are the X amount of things that you can bypass encryption to do. If you're making an academic documentary or whatever.
Let me pull it up. I've got this. I went
Good,
and looked
good.
up the Librarian of Congress's like abilities and things so that I could reference it, and I closed it for whatever reason. Give me 1 second.
Uh-huh.
That's not.
You know what?
It's-
Fact checking makes great podcast.
You know, Trey. This is your fault.
I have almost no idea what's going on in this story at this point.
Okay, so basically, in this subsection of whatever that gives the Librarian of Congress this power, it's saying that it prohibits the circumvention of technological measures
Right.
that control access to copyrighted works set forth in basically the DMCA.
Right. The
But it
Digital
shall
Millennium
not-
Copyright.
It says in here that the librarian has determined that the prohibition against circumvention of technological measures that effectively control access shall not apply to persons who engage in non-infringing uses of the following classes of copyrighted works.
Right. And so, and the Librarian of Congress sets that out every 3 years.
Yeah.
And so, do I have to own my phone in order to unlock it? Do I have to own it outright? Or can it be still under contract for me to
That
unlock
is not clear.
it? Okay.
But, well, okay, if you own it outright, then certainly
Right, but that's
It
not what I'm
applies.
interested in. So let's say, hypothetically, I owned a Lumia 1020.
Lumia 1020.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, I
Hypothetically.
owned a Lumia 1020 that
Yes,
is
this is a fascinating hypothetical, Trey. Please go on.
that is currently locked to AT&T. I would like it to function better internationally, such as on other carriers that are not AT&T. Would I be, especially now that Asha has been deprecated, would I be able to do that now?
I'm not sure is the answer because I am not a lawyer.
I
And
think,
the phrasing of these things is particularly difficult.
but so theoretically, at least the idea
I think,
of unlocking
I think the answer is that
protected.
yes, you do have to own your phone.
Okay. That probably makes sense, right?
I believe that's what it says in the actual verbiage of the law, that as long as the person at the direction of the owner or by a provider of a commercial mobile radio service or a commercial mobile data service at the direction of such owner or other person solely in order to enable. I mean, it like goes on and on and on and on, but it's all referring to the owner. So whoever owns the phone has the ability to do whatever the hell they want with it.
Right, but you have to own the phone outright.
You have to own the phone.
Okay, that makes sense. So you can basically say, okay, I'm paid up on this phone. AT&T, unlock it.
And quite literally, what this does, yes, and quite literally, what this does is it resets it to what it was before. All the rules about unlocking phones from 3 years ago, from before the rule was changed and what caused all the uproar, you're good. Like, you can unlock, as long as you own your phone, legally, your ability to unlock your phone is protected.
Okay.
However, the thing that is the most troubling here is that there's, like, of course, this is a big deal. Yes, we should be able to unlock our own phones, all of these things, as long as we own them. But, like, there should be no question about whether or not this phone that I purchased from Movistar in Spain, whether or not I should be able to unlock it, because I purchased it. Like, I purchased it outright. There's no contract, nothing.
Right. But it is still locked to Movistar.
But it could. I don't actually know. I have not tried. I can put a
It
T-Mobile
is locked.
SIM in, and we can easily find out. But
It is. It is locked.
I will verify this before T4 this week, and we can discuss it there. But really, what I think is that Congress has decided, look, people are angry about this unlocked thing. Let's just go ahead and overrule the Librarian of Congress this time and tell them not to do it again next time. But it doesn't solve the DMCA problem.
Right.
This is my thing. Let me control my thing. Don't make the Librarian of Congress, like,
Well, the phone.
give me permission to do things with my thing.
The phone unlocking thing is the
Don't read
awkward
into
part
that.
of this. I think we need the Digital Millennium Copyright Act because, or
Well,
else
yes,
you
but-
could just pirate DVDs all day long, and it not be against the law. Because the circumvention of encryption, although encryption, although clunky and with unintended consequences, like you can't upload your own DVDs for your own use, or
I think that is technically. I was just looking at it. I think that's technically covered under fair use.
right, but it wasn't all. This is what
It has not always been.
Has not always been.
That's one of the other things that is an exception because of the Librarian of Congress.
Because of the Librarian of Congress. It's clunky, but you need something like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or copyright goes out the window and it just looks like China, where you just sue people you don't like on copyright infringement, which keeps happening, which I find fascinating. So, speaking of countries that I don't like their digital policies of, Russia is going hunting for Tor users. Tor, or the Onion Router, was originally developed by the United States military and is a way, I can get really technical about this, but it is essentially a way to bypass government internet restrictions and make one's traffic untraceable, or access the dark net.
Darknet.
Russia is becoming increasingly a digital security state with strict laws against quote-unquote extremist content and piracy. They're doing things
Yar.
like Yar. For instance, they're making bloggers register, and might be on pace to kind of be the next China in terms of restrictions. Thus, in 2 weeks, in June, Russian users of Tor jumped from 80,000 to 200,000.
Wow.
Cue the government response. They posted a job listing that will pay over $100,000 a year for someone who can get information on Tor users. This person's job would essentially be to research ways to break through Tor, and make those people traceable. Right now, this is just a job posting, but it is an interesting window into what Russia is up to. So, does this have y'all concerned?
That's a little creepy.
I'm concerned with how blatant they're being with it.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically advertising, hey, we want somebody who can come and help us get to our citizens who are doing things we don't like.
Well, okay. That's one way to phrase that. But we live in the country with the NSA. So, another way to phrase that is we want to protect our citizens from what might be happening in the darknet. Because only bad things can happen in the darknet.
Look, if this was America, that's exactly the phrasing that they would be
I'm
using.
sure that's what
But
they
it's
use
Putin.
too.
He's creepy.
Right, because the NSA isn't... Like, this is the
Look,
problem.
Putin is one man.
Okay. So, I mean, fundamentally, I don't trust Putin as far as I can throw him, the shirtless horse riding bastard. But, I mean, of course, they can phrase this out. They can spin this however they want.
Right.
But this is one of those, like, hey, if you want to protect yourself on the internet, use Tor. If Tor gets broken, that's another leg of internet security that falls. Now, there's no guarantee that this will work, right? But if it does, this is, another leg of, hey, protect ourselves that we lose.
Yeah.
I mean, a leg to protect ourselves built by the U.S. government. Awkward, I know. It's built by the Navy, not the NSA. It's okay. But yeah, I brought this story just so people would know about it more than anything else.
Know that this is happening, really. I mean, really, realistically, the rest of that, from a non-tech perspective, is significantly more concerning than the tech aspect of this.
Sure.
The restriction on journalists and bloggers as pseudo-journalists, and what does that mean, and what kinds of things will not be able to be discussed or found out about from Russia if this continues in the direction that it might appear it is going.
One of the phrases that gets banding around, so we have the Great Firewall of China, and this is the Iron Firewall, right? This is essentially the digital version of an Iron Curtain. That Russia seems to be
call it the Iron Curtain? Can we not just call it the Iron Curtain? Or did we use that for the actual wall that they built? Now we can't
used
use
it for the
again?
Iron Curtain. We used it back in the day. So, you need, the internet spin. It's like the Great Firewall, right? And I've always liked that one. We are now working on... Russia is now working on building, and we are working on what to call the Russian version of this. You need to play with the idea of Iron Curtain, but somehow work in digital or internet or something into that. So that's why I have Iron Firewall, which is not perfect. Fire curtain, internet curtain. Iron seems to be a better way to go than curtain, right? Because there's more you can do with. I don't know. But the point is that's what seems to be what's coming in Russia, and I guess it's more troubling if you're Russian than if you're me. But still, I don't like to see an internet security state.
If the Russians break Tor, it will become obvious that Tor has been broken.
Right, and then that can, and then how it gets broken will get out there, and then other people like China, like Iran, other states.
But I almost wonder if then because there's such a large community that uses Tor to protect themselves, and in general, those using Tor are the ones that are more knowledgeable and have more to lose, and it's not being there. I wonder if there might even be a response because Tor has just kind of worked, so why mess with it?
Right.
But if it gets broken, then I could see them putting the effort in to patch it.
Sure, or patch it, or drive innovation for something other than Tor.
Yeah, basically the open internet protects itself against Russia.
Yeah, hopefully.
And how fascinating would that be?
Yeah, but Anonymous still hasn't taken down the Great Firewall, so I don't know. That's what I keep saying should happen, right? Anonymous should attack China.
But I don't think they care.
Right, well, See, they would much rather just like break things. Go, oh, look how bad the U.S. is. Yeah, okay, we're bad. I get it, right? I've read the book. It's not pretty. It's bad, and I'm sad and mad. But you know what you should do? Break the firewall, if only for a little bit. That would be something worth doing. So, off of the really serious news and on to the incredibly frivolous is this week's Last Call. And really, it's more of a Geeks Anonymous edition.
Last night, Thursday came down from planet Vulcan and
Was, without a doubt, the worst episode ever.
I think we should call it your grave.
curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I missed that sound effect.
It's a good one.
So, for all of you that might be wondering what was going on in San Diego this weekend, when
Baseball. I don't know if there was.
130,000 people descended, you might also know that Comic-Con was in town. So, for any of you that don't know, it's an annual comic convention that is the third largest in the world.
Comic
After-
convention or convention?
No, I think it's comic book convention specifically.
Okay.
And it's after there's one in Japan and there's one in France.
Bloody French.
Japan is number 1, France is number 2.
Of course they are.
Basically, they're capped at 130,000 people because any more than that, and they would totally and completely overcrowd the world. So
Of San Diego. Or of Warcraft.
Or both.
of Warcraft.
Of World. Of
So-
Warcraft.
Because there are so many people, and it has everything to do with comic books and just nerdy culture in general, it has kind of grown to this greater nerdy culture thing. It gives people an opportunity to, get their cosplay going for anything nerdy with a cult following to get attention, and for lots of first showings of previews for comic book related games, movies, TV shows, lots of
Vaguely
things like that.
Things with nothing to do with comic books.
Pretty much.
Yeah, anything. Really, it's just anything geek culture has fallen under the Comic-Con umbrella. So for this, we've each kind of selected our favorite story coming out of Comic-Con this year, and I'm going to go ahead and go first. So my favorite story coming out of Comic-Con this year was that we found out a little bit more about the new Mass Effect game, which
Yep.
I adore Mass Effect.
Hey, for once it's game news. This is more than they had at E3.
I know. Instead of we're
There's a
probably going to
game.
make a new Mass Effect game.
There's a game.
We're thinking about it.
Real hard.
Some say that a Mass Effect game might come out. So really what we got is that there's going to be a new Mass Effect game, and we'll see the return of the Mako, which is the little kind of rover thing that you drive around on the surface of, which is lots of fun. And I mean, let's see. I did not watch the panel because that would.
Because you have a life.
I have a life. Let's see. That players would be able to customize their Mako according to the
Can I
producer
buy hats for my Mako?
Mike Gamble. I would assume that one would have to pay for these upgrades to the
right.
Mako.
Right. So how much money
Yes.
would I have to pay to get hats for my Mako?
I have no idea.
Are you saying that the new Dota the new Mass Effect will be made like Dota with hats?
Can
Can you confirm or deny the existence?
Chance.
Can you confirm or deny the existence of hats in the new Mass Effect?
There may be hats.
Okay, you may continue.
Basically, they're also trying to make it so that the vehicle. It seems like they're trying to go away from the click on a place and arrive there. They're trying to have more interaction with the environment and the terrain and things like that. I'd be interested to see if they have more of a you're flying a ship mechanic than go there and we're going to stand in the bridge and have a conversation.
Or make passionate love in the shower.
Well, yes, with one of your.
Crewmates. That's a great way to maintain morale on a long space journey.
So there's also a hint that there might be co-op multiplayer, but because that's like the buzzwords, and also reaffirmed that it's not going to be a Commander Shepard storyline. So that was my exciting news out of Comic-Con. So Trey, what have you got?
So there was this show. It was a great
once a
show.
show
And then it was a
from
movie.
Naboo. Wait, no.
It was a show that happened in 2002. And then it was a movie in 2005. It's Firefly. And last year at Comic-Con, they announced Firefly Online, a online strategic RPG based in the Firefly universe, or verse, if you will. And they released a new trailer, which is not important, but they also announced that all of the original cast would be returning to voice themselves in the game.
Yay.
So that's my favorite news. That you are basically going to get new Firefly content by way... Finally, complete with the original cast. So
Instead of Halo ODST, the Firefly edition.
right, like Halo
Which
Firefly.
I really wanted to play just to listen to the voices, and then I was like, this game is... I can't. I love you, Firefly, but I just can't.
That game is so bad.
Not
Yeah,
worth
but
it.
it has most of the cast of Firefly in it.
And yet...
And yet, it's still so bad.
Right. So it will at some point come to Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows.
I will pay money for this.
No one knows. But you can be a captain. And you can have your own ship. And since it's on iOS and Android, probably it's free to play. So if you want anything good, pay an arm and a leg.
No.
It's probably what it'll be. I have no confirmation of that, but I was just excited.
I will pay money.
If I can just listen to more Firefly content with the original actors, I don't really care. So Sydney, what do you have?
So mine is not exactly lighthearted or fun, because it's Comic-Con. So of course we all know that I'm gonna bring out the lady news. So as I'm sure anybody who even remotely follows Comic-Con or pretty much any various science fiction, comic book, whatever, people dressing in costumes involved convention, they have somewhat of a tradition of problematic history as far as treatment of women at these conventions. So sexual harassment, all kinds of good stuff. So
Booth
this is
girls. I think it's a perfect example of all of this.
booth babes. We're talking about one of Trey's favorite phrases: women as set pieces.
Yes.
So women standing around in scanty outfits for no apparent reason other than, hey, let's put a scantily clad woman over here.
Well, yes.
So this is not new or news in any way, shape, or form, but the actual news involved here is the reaction. There is an organization called Geeks for Consent, with C-O-N in consent capitalized, which is founded by 3 women from Philadelphia who basically put forth a proposal, a petition to Comic-Con requesting that they beef up their anti-harassment policy.
Interesting.
Apparently a lot of other conventions have actual, written out anti-harassment policies, and let's see, I have to find it now. This is a mistake. Oh, I'm having a Jimmy problem here. But basically, they're stating, I think they said Dragon Con and a bunch of other conventions, go out of their way to have specific anti-harassment, advertising posted around saying, we won't tolerate this. Different conventions have staff members who are specifically their job is to respond to reports of harassment. And Comic-Con is, as we mentioned before, one of the largest conventions. And while they have a general anti-discrimination, anti-harassment policy, it's not really highlighted. When they submitted their petition, they got response from the Comic-Con people basically saying, well, we don't want to, make this any more specific than it is, because then that will create loopholes. So if we add more details to this, then we might exclude different kinds of harassment. And also a statement that was essentially, but if we put up signs about how we don't tolerate harassment, then people will think we have a harassment problem.
You have a harassment problem.
You have a harassment
Too late.
problem, guys.
It's already happening.
Newsflash.
Like it
You
just
have a
reminded
harassment
me
problem.
of
Ignoring the harassment doesn't make it go away.
Yeah, it reminded me of schools that say, well, we have a zero tolerance policy for bullying, which basically just means we like to pretend that bullying doesn't happen at our school because we want to, just sweep it under the rug. This is generally what I found with schools that have a zero tolerance policy. It means we pretend it doesn't happen, and that was kind of the response from the Comic-Con staff as far as, responding to this women's petition was, well, we don't want to put up too much stuff about harassment because we don't want people to think we have a harassment problem. You do, guys. So I just thought that was kind of a disappointing response, but this is definitely one of those things that has been kind of gaining speed, I feel, over the last few years. So hopefully we'll see some actual movement in this direction at some point.
So, I mean, I watched maybe 5 minutes of Comic-Con. Okay, a total of 15 minutes of Comic-Con coverage before in the pre-show, right? What I saw statues of an unrealistically proportioned every female villain or every female character from the DC universe, from Batgirl to Poison Ivy. I saw 2 women who dressed as sexy Assassin's Creed characters, which they built the costumes themselves. Is very interesting. But then the angles that the camera person chose to show of them was what became troubling about that. Lots of very focused in tight shots.
On what, Trey? I'm sure I have no idea.
Skirt lines and tights and other things as well.
Vaguely sexual things.
More than vaguely. I think these were
semi-
already somewhat sexual costumes, but it's one thing if someone chooses that's how they want to express themselves. That's fine.
It's another thing to highlight that.
Right. It's another thing to
highlight specific elements of that.
Specific anatomical aspects of that. To me, it's more not the existence of the costumes or people wanting to dress like that. If you want to dress like that, fine. This is one of the few spaces in society where you can really go for that. But it's how they then get approached.
Right.
That
It's the
becomes
response.
really
I
troubling.
mean, and I really encourage everybody to go to geeksforconsent.org and really look through the website because they've got lots of good information. Again,
The
highlighting the
link is in the show
conventions
notes.
that know what they're doing, and then just stories of women saying, I dress up in this costume, and guys seem to think that that's a reason that gives them permission to grab my boobs when they're taking a picture with me. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. Like that's never okay. Or an interview with a woman who likes to dress as Wonder Woman. She's like, I don't mind it when people take my picture. I model. I like for people to take my picture. That's great. It's, when I'm bending over signing something and somebody's taking a picture of my butt without me knowing about it or anything like that. That's really, again,
Well,
not
I'm
okay.
sure that those things get posted all over the internet, and it's very easy to accidentally stumble on a picture of yourself where you're like, wait a second, I did not pose for this.
Right. So it's,
So, simple message. Please seek consent.
consent.
Yeah. And so, on that, we should probably get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us on Text Last Call. We will hopefully get back to a more regular recording schedule now that life becomes slightly more sane. If you have any feedback for the show, podcast at textlastcall.com, facebook.com/textlastcall, pinterest.com/textlastcall, or at textlastcall on the Twitters. However you find us, you'll be seeing us on the interwebs.
You need to make up a dance for Satya Nadella.
I know. But he just doesn't have that same I don't give a F attitude.
It would just be.
Yes, I think this is the Satya Nadella dance.
He's entirely too thoughtful and considerate. He's not a large yelling man.